When it comes to flip phones, there are really only two brands worth considering in 2025. Samsung and Motorola. The pair's latest devices, the Galaxy Z Flip 7 and the Razr Ultra 2025, are two of the best foldable phones we've ever seen. But which should you buy? Given their similar form factors, these two phones have some obvious similarities, but they also have quite a lot of differences, not least when it comes to their cameras, chipsets and batteries. So in this video, we'll be comparing the Galaxy Z Flip 7 against the Razr Ultra 2025, drawing attention to each phone's specs and sharing our overall verdict on which model is best for what use case. Naturally, the Z Flip 7 and Razr Ultra look very similar. They both have a cover screen that wraps around their respective camera arrays and a single punch hole camera at the top of their inner foldable screens. However, their dimensions and weights differ, with the Galaxy Z Flip 7 being shorter, slimmer, lighter, and slightly wider than the Motorola. They also come in very different colors. We've got the Z Flip 7 in blue shadow here, but it's also available in jet black, coral red, and mint. Meanwhile, this Mountain Trail Razr Ultra is joined by Rio Red, Scarab, and Cabaret shades, which are basically dark red, dark green, and dark pink. This Mountain Trail option uses real wood, and the Scarab shade actually uses real suede, so in those cases you're getting something more unusual and striking than you would get with the Z Flip 7. Both phones though have an aluminium frame and both have an IP48 rating, meaning they can be submerged in up to 1.5 meters of water for up to 30 minutes, but they only have minimal dust resistance. As for their screens, the Galaxy Z Flip 7 has a 6.9-inch AMOLED display with a 120Hz refresh rate and a peak brightness of 2600 nits. It also has a 4.1-inch AMOLED cover screen with the same refresh rate and the same peak brightness. The Motorola, on the other hand, has a 7-inch foldable AMOLED screen with a 165Hz refresh rate and a peak brightness of 4500 nits. On the outside is a 4-inch AMOLED cover display with the same refresh rate and a peak brightness of 3000 nits. So the Razr Ultra 2025 has a slightly bigger, higher resolution main display with a higher refresh rate and peak brightness. Its cover screen also has a higher resolution, refresh rate and peak brightness, but it comes in at a marginally smaller size than the Z Flip 7's, which is surrounded by smaller bezels. Throw in the Galaxy's 21:9 aspect ratio and it's arguably the better sized phone of the two, but Motorola wins out on specs alone. The Galaxy Z Flip 7 and the Motorola Razr Ultra both have a 50-megapixel main camera with optical image stabilization, but that's pretty much where the camera similarities end. They do both have ultra-wide cameras, but while the Z Flip 7 has a 12-megapixel lens with a 123-degree field of view, the Razr Ultra has a 50-megapixel lens with a 122-degree field of view. It's a similar story on the inside, where the Z Flip 7 gets a 10-megapixel selfie camera and the Razr Ultra gets a 50-megapixel selfie camera. So, the Motorola has better camera specs on paper with more megapixels in both its ultra-wide and selfie cameras. It can also record video in up to 8K quality, while the Galaxy Z Flip 7 tops out at 4K. All that said, both phones impressed us with their photography skills in testing, so you're not likely to be left disappointed by the Z Flip 7. Neither model has a telephoto camera, so if you're a keen zoom photographer, you're better off going for a different form factor. Both the Z Flip 7 and the Razr Ultra 2025 have high-end chipsets, but while the former uses Samsung's own Exynos 2500, the latter uses the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite. The Elite is the chipset you'll find in phones like the Galaxy S25 Ultra and indeed the Galaxy Z Fold 7, so it's a little awkward that Samsung has decided to give the Z Flip 7 a weaker chipset than the Motorola Razr Ultra. Of course, the Exynos is not slow by any means, and most people would struggle to notice the difference between it and the Qualcomm. That said, the Razr Ultra is the more powerful phone on paper, especially when you consider its larger 16GB RAM capacity compared to the Z Flip 7's 12GB of RAM. On the software front, both phones offer plenty of useful features and AI tools, but their implementation is a little different. The Z Flip 7 has deeper customization options and more powerful features like DeX, which lets you use the phone as a desktop PC. That said, these customization options can be tricky to find, and Motorola's software is arguably more intuitive and closer to Google's simpler take on Android. There's a clear winner in the battery department. As well, the Galaxy Z Flip 7 has a 4300 mAh battery, the Razr Ultra has a far larger 4700 mAh battery. That larger capacity unsurprisingly translates to longer battery life, with the Motorola able to last all day without issue and the Samsung only able to do the same if it hasn't been used intensively. The Razr Ultra also charges faster than the Galaxy, offering 68-watt wired, 30-watt wireless and 5-watt reverse wireless charging capabilities. The Z Flip 7, meanwhile, offers support for 25-watt wired, 15-watt wireless and 4.5-watt reverse wireless charging. On paper then, the Motorola Razr Ultra 2025 has a lot of clear advantages over the Galaxy Z Flip 7. It has a more powerful chipset, more RAM, more megapixels in some of its cameras, a bigger, faster charging battery, and brighter, higher resolution screens. However, the Razr's starting price is higher in certain regions, and the Galaxy is thinner, lighter, and I think prettier than Motorola's latest foldable. Whichever model you go for then, you'll be getting a high-end phone with great software and an eye-catching design. We awarded both devices a 4.5-star review rating, so we don't think you'll be let down by either. Oh, and if you're keen to buy either phone, check out the links in the description for the best pricing available. Are you tempted by the Z Flip 7 or the Razr Ultra 2025? Let us know in the comments.